days and wasted nights. You piss them all away. Little children in the street, dying every day. We all look for something we can never find, and we all need peace of mind. Lonely wretch on the street, looking for love. $20 beneath the sheets. Is this all she thinks of? We all look for something.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, Timmy, good to see you.
Hey, here we are again, another Wednesday night. Well, I'm going to tell you, September is flying by, Sean.
Yeah, you telling me. I just closed my pool. You know, I
Yeah.
always have like this, I get this dreaded sadness when my pool closes because I realize that the summer's over and
Yeah,
I
you're
hate
heading
winter.
right into winter, yeah.
I hate winter. I mean, I
So-
like the fall, but I hate
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, so look at a lot of people been commenting to you, okay, letting you know that my mic seems to be low. So look at if my mic seems to be low out there, people just put a comment, let me know. Okay, I've learned my lesson from last week not to interrupt Sean so he forgets his quote. All you people with the messages about, it's my fault he forgot his quote. Yes, that's true.
Hey, Timmy, look,
Anyway.
nobody's ever said ever in all the years that I've known you that you're quiet because you have a mouth that isn't afraid to share its 2 cents. But hey, look, I want to just jump right over because this is listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but something really weird's going on here, right? I mean, when you have a president of the United States of America who's now
Yep.
running for president again, which in itself is kind of weird, right? I think it's the first time, at least in my life, where I could remember politics that this was something that happened. But so we all watched in this, whether you like Trump or not, he's a human being. He's got a family, right? He's running for president of the United States. We should be the classiest country in the world. We should be the leaders of the world, especially when it comes to, choosing who's going to be our president. Isn't that one of the greatest gifts of being an American?
Sure, and here you have 2 attempted assassinations in 8 weeks. It's unheard of in this country.
And the first one, I still don't even know what happened.
Nobody
It's been
does.
it's the most silent thing I've ever. This should be like on every news channel every day until we could figure out how a 20-year-old kid climbs up on an air conditioner onto a roof where people seen him and they're yelling he's up there. They still walk the president out. He almost gets shot in the head if it wasn't for some
Right,
God.
and then the FBI turns around and washes the evidence scene away,
Well, they burned
cremates
him,
the
didn't
body the very next day, okay, hoses down the roof.
Yeah, like
okay.
that's not their job, right? But this is
Right.
This is enough to make anybody cringe.
Yeah.
Because if this could happen, look, and I've said this before, if Donald Trump, who has $3-4 billion, could be treated the way he's being treated, a country weaponizing itself to stop a man they hate from running for president. I don't give a shit. I'm a Democrat, and I'm not a Democrat of today. I really ain't. I'm more of a conservative than I am part of these liberal Democrats. I'd love to be a middle of the road Democrat once again, where common sense prevails.
Yeah.
But are you telling me that most common folk can't step back and say something is really strange? I have spent more time listening about P. Diddy or Diddy P or whatever the hell that guy's name is. He's on TV every 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's
right?
He's the Harvey Weinstein wannabe.
Yeah, well, whatever he is, P.
Sex
Diddy,
trafficking.
I'm
and
sick
all that
of hearing
other crap.
about him. But I don't know what happened to Trump. And I don't
Yeah.
want to say it's because it's Trump. I want to know how in the United States, when you're supposed to be surrounded by the greatest protection force ever to live, you could be shot in the ear,
Yeah.
and then you have, these people just go up along his golf course, find a spot in the fence, and then get ready to shoot him
Yeah.
again. And all these great, protectors can't figure it out. Are we not the greatest? Or is that
Yeah.
just we used to be?
And did you know on this second attempt here, Sean, it was a woman that spotted this guy running off. She followed him in her car and snapped photos, and she had close-up photos of this guy's plate because bottom line is she felt something was wrong, okay, and she
Maybe it was
pursued
that big gun. Maybe the big gun that he had told her
Yeah.
something was wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's why, Timmy, when I was watching it on the news, they had the sheriff on the news, right? And I don't
Yeah.
know why the sheriff was doing all the talking. It should be the people that protect the president. But he was having his 15 minutes of fame because he was a blowhard as far as I was concerned. He was talking about how
Service
great of
ever
a job
showed-
they did.
show their faces or ID,
Well, they
and
were
so
talking
they
about
won't do that.
how great of a job they did. And I said, you didn't do shit. If it wasn't for that lady
Yeah.
taking the picture, nobody would have known what happened.
Yeah, he'd have gotten away. And
Of course.
and also, Trump's agenda for that day, that was what they call an OTR, off the record. It was never scheduled. All right. How did this guy know to get there and set up in what we would call a crow's nest 12 hours before he arrives to play golf?
Why don't you tell me?
Yeah,
Because-
and it just seems like there's a mole somewhere leaking on out where he is.
Look, I'm not going to pretend I know anything.
Yeah.
Okay. I really ain't. I'm sitting here in my podcast office,
Yeah.
having a podcast with you. We're a small little show with,
Yeah.
50, 60,000 people listening. We're not Joe Rogan. We don't have access to all these people to try to get information from. Here's what I'll tell you. When I sit home, something tells me something is not right. There's some
Yeah.
bullshit going on. And everybody in this country, Democrat, Republican, conservative, everybody should be alarmed
Yeah, they
that
should be.
that our president could be put into a position where he could have been killed twice. Well, you can't die
Yeah,
twice, but
and this
twice
could
he
happen,
could've-
right? And this could happen to anybody in public service.
Well, that's what
Okay.
I'm trying to say, right?
Anybody.
The guy was put in a position where he could have been killed at the first rally. He could have been
Yeah.
killed on his golf course, and we're not hearing a lot about it. I want to just throw this video up. I mean, just
Yeah.
take a listen.
Let's go with
Total
it. Yeah.
outrage because the response from the Department of Homeland Security has been totally lacking. In fact, I think it's tantamount to stonewalling in many respects. If necessary, I'll certainly support a subpoena.
Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez sits on the House Homeland Security Committee, and he joins us now. Congressman, good morning to you. So Senator Blumenthal brings up raises a really good question here, and that is, where is DHS Secretary?
Well, and there's the question: where is he?
Mm-hmm.
He ain't at the border because they're hopping the border. Timmy, I want.
Yeah,
let me
it's
just
in
rewind.
Mayorkas.
Yeah, let me just rewind something.
Missing in
So-
action. Yeah.
So they came out the other day and they talked about how the border has seen this major decrease in activity and therefore their policies are working. What they did not tell the American people is that they're flying them in. So they don't count as jumping the border. They're flying them in airplanes and dropping
They are.
them off. And they're dropping them off. And as soon as they're getting off the airplane, half of them are part of this gang that's the Venezuelan,
Sure, they're giving them
crazy
ID cards and letting them drive without license. They another thing that happened is we fired or got rid of an enormous amount of our military because they refused vaccinations. Yet they bring these people in unvaccinated. Okay, everything's backwards.
Listen, the whole thing makes
Yep.
anybody with common sense say
Yeah.
what is going on. The problem is, and I think I have common sense. I'm not the
Yeah.
smartest guy in the world. I'm not going to, solve, cancer. I'm not going to cure diseases. I'm not, but I can sit back and go, something just don't seem right. But common
Yeah.
sense doesn't seem to be that common in most people. When
You know-
when you Go ahead, Timmy. Go ahead. 'Cause
Look at if you were the president of this country or I was, right? What I would do is I'd tell that president of Mexico, you close up your side or all of your products that you're producing. We're not letting in this country, or we're going to put
well,
tariffs on them
that's
so
kind
high.
of the Trump
That's
plan,
what you
right?
got to do, because I blame the country of Mexico as much for allowing this to happen. They're
Well, you
coming
can't
over
just
their borders.
Timmy, it's bigger than that, brother. It's
It
bigger than
is.
that because they're not just coming from Mexico
No,
anymore.
they're
They're
flying them
coming
in
from
direct.
China. They're coming from
Yeah,
China. They're coming
everywhere.
from the Congo, man. The
Yeah,
Congo. The most
yeah,
dangerous people in the world. The
yeah.
Congo.
They're
And
coming
they're
from
coming over
Haiti.
here. Venezuela, they're coming over here. They're
Do you know?
overrunning.
They're even busing them up and flying them up from Florida, okay, into Springfield, Ohio, and stuff.
They're
Have you seen that
flying
place?
them.
It's
They're flying.
it's a
They're,
madhouse
they're
there.
flying them
Anyway,
across the United States.
yes,
And therefore, they're not counting it as people crossing the border.
yeah,
What do people need to understand? Why would anybody want to let these people into our country? Timmy, listen, just go back 23 years ago.
mm-hmm,
I'm sitting at A plus. Okay? I'm sitting there because I'm pumping gas. I'm sitting there waiting for the gas to fill up. And all of a sudden, over the radio, the World Trade Center fiasco happens, right? One of the worst things to ever happen to this country, at least in my lifetime, and I bet in everybody's lifetime. I don't know what could have been worse, but we've had a lot of incidents in this country over a lifetime. But that, for me and for many, is one of the worst things that ever happened in this country, and will always be in the history books as one of the worst. And the reason I bring that up is because I was a firefighter, right? I got to listen to all the political bullshit from all the elected officials, the congressmen, the senators, the governors, the president. I got to hear it all firsthand, how we were never going to allow this to happen again, that nobody would ever get into our country again, that we have learned this valuable lesson where these people came in under this false pretense to learn how to fly planes and be educated, only to cause one of the biggest disasters with the most loss of life that I've ever seen in my time.
yeah, to fly into a building.
And now, just 23 years later, we have allowed more people in an hour than we let in that caused the 9/11 tragedies. Have they not learned, or they don't care? What is the reason we are letting people in to our country that are criminals? They are crazy people. They are rapists. We're seeing young people get, every day, if you turn on the fucking TV, somebody's talking about their daughter got raped, their kid's been killed, their daughter's been murdered. What do you have to do? They're overrunning apartment complexes. I listened to that mother the other day. I cried, dude. I'm sitting in my chair, a grown man, and I got tears running down my eyes listening to the horror. They didn't just rape the girl and kill her. They raped her and they brutally beat her for a long time. This poor kid was living in hell. And
for a couple of hours they did this. And all this stuff going on with all these Haitians out there in Springfield, Ohio. There's reports now, Sean, that are coming out. It's greater than that. It's a human smuggling operation, sex trading operation going on. The guy that's running this stuff, he's got the nickname of King George. They know who he is. But it's insanity that these people can know all this stuff there, and our law enforcement does nothing about it.
It's insanity that our
crazy.
Government has turned its back on its people.
Yeah.
And if anybody who's watching this show don't believe for 5 seconds that this government is allowing every creature in the world to jump that border or fly them in so that they can register them to vote, so they can vote with the hopes of being a Democrat, so they can stay in power until they blow the world up and we're all freaking dead anyway. Because that's really what's happening. And I don't care what anybody says to me. My mind can't be changed anymore right now. Right? I can't be changed because I believe they're letting these people in to bolster their power, because there's no other reason. Timmy, do you think, let me rewind. A couple months ago, this kid from Venezuela is doing like a I don't know if it was a Facebook post or a TikTok, but he was talking,
I
holding up
remember him.
all the
Yeah.
money and telling
Yeah.
people, "Come here, they're going to give you welfare cards, and you can move in somebody's house when they're on vacation, and
Yeah,
you
take it
get to
over,
keep
right.
it." So yesterday, it was on the news that he has been in court, and he was told, or they were told, they had to deport him. He was done out of the United States. You're done, out of here,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And guess what they said today?
I didn't hear it.
Well, today they said he probably won't be deported because Venezuela won't let him fly back into their country. Do you think Donald Trump would say, Donald Trump would put him up on one of those Russian balloons and send him across strapped by his freaking belt? Okay? He wouldn't say, "Oh, okay, Venezuela, we'll just keep your animals because you won't let us bring them back to your country." That's what I'm saying. We have become a weak country on every front. And when another country of piss ants that could never beat you can punch you around and you stand there, what do you think happens? Everybody starts punching you around. And that's what we've become. We've become the country that everybody punches around because we forgot what our government stands for. It's
we've become weak.
It's to
politically,
protect us.
Militarily.
Right.
And sometimes, Sean, I think the only solution is our military, and they're trying to destroy that as well.
Well, certainly they are, because if we have too strong of a military, we send this presence. Listen, every military in the world is teaching. Listen, you don't go fight these you're going to fight killers. You're going to fight animals. You're going to fight people that will cut your head off and hold it up and say to your mother, "Here's your kid." Right? They don't care. They're savages. And every once in a while they have a video or something that you can find where they're showing you how these savages train to be killers. And we're worried about whether or not you could be a transgender in the United States Army. We're worried about whether the rainbow flag should be hanging above the United States American flag. What do you think we are? We become such a country full of bullshit that everybody else is getting tough, and we're just thinking we're tough.
Did you see Steve Devlin's comment here about when he was down New York City here in Manhattan, coming off the Hudson River Expressway? He goes miles and miles, and he thought people were going to a concert, and no, it wasn't. New York PD told him, "Hey, these are the illegals." Okay, and they're just flying them in, Sean. I don't know how they get away with this, but I'm hoping to see it all end in a couple months.
They get away with it because nobody gives a shit. We have an election coming up, okay? We have an election coming up where a woman is trying to tell you that on day one, she's going to fix every freaking problem that she created day one 3 years ago.
Yep.
And people are at her rallies jumping up and down like she's the great savior. She's the next coming of Christ. For God's sakes, this lady is a failure at every level.
Yeah.
And I get it, because Donald Trump and Sean Morris, if we were in a bar, okay, and it was just this man who acted like him, I'd probably kick the shit out of him because he gets on my freaking nerves, okay? But I'm going to tell you something. You have to put your personal beliefs aside and look at policies that run the country and ask yourself, are these policies better for me? Was my life better than it was under Kamala and Uncle Joe? Or was it worse? And if you can't answer that question, that it's worse, then there's something wrong with you. I was watching this, and it was Fox. I was watching Fox, and I know people go, Fox, but I watch Fox, I watch CNN, I watch all the channels because I want to get this well-rounded understanding of what everybody thinks, right? So I'm watching this shit, and they're interviewing people about who are you going to vote for, who are you going to vote for, and the ones that say Kamala, they say, well, what did she do, and why would you vote for her? And they're like, we hate Trump. You can hate anybody you want, but if they were the best heart surgeon in the world and you need a new valve, would you say, I hate that, I'm not going to him?
Right.
I'm going to go to the lady who put the valve in somebody's ear by accident. Yeah. I mean, we're in trouble, bro. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
As I just wanted to make a comment here. for people who are watching the podcast here, we can see your comments. Hello, hi Franny, and hi Nancy White. We're busy doing a podcast, so we really can't be typing at this, but we do see your comments here, and so welcome to the podcast as we go along. Okay,
Yeah.
feel
So
free to
hey,
comment.
we appreciate you watching the show. I just went on a little rant because I I
Yeah.
have kids still, and I have grandkids
Yeah.
still to grow up, and I have my kids are just getting into the prime of their lives.
Sure.
And I sit back and I think to myself, holy shit,
Yeah.
where are they heading?
Yeah.
What is it going to be like for my 3-year-old granddaughter, or my
Yeah.
1-year-old granddaughter, or my newborn grandson, or my granddaughter on the way? What's it going to be like?
Yeah,
Because
and it's the it hits you in the wallet, Sean. Look at I went shop at grocery with my wife, right? One red pepper, $1.50, and then you see this shrinkflation that's going on. Everything that you're buying are now in smaller packages, okay, but you're paying the same price.
I just had an
Okay.
argument with some moron on Facebook
Yeah,
about the same thing because I wasn't saying it to be like an asshole, right? I went to
right.
Price Chopper and they sell donuts, and I'm
Yeah,
not supposed to eat donuts,
and they're
so it's
tiny now.
probably better for me now because I used to go up there because they had big thing was like this.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I went up and I said, "What the hell happened? You throw the donuts in the dryer because they're like this big." And the
Same
guy
thing
said,
with right? Same thing with Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, if you look at all their stuff, okay, they're all getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
"Well, the
Okay,
guy
but the
said."
price doesn't change.
The guy said to me, who's making them, he said, "Look at all the price went up. We can't keep raising prices on you. You're not going to buy
Yeah.
them, so we have to reduce it somewhere. So we cut the donut size by a quarter or by a half."
Right, and they charge you the same.
Yes, they're charging the
Hey, you-
same so they don't have to raise the price. So I'm arguing with this guy. I don't even know why I go on Facebook because I want to beat
Yeah.
everybody up.
Yeah.
There's so many cesspools of assholes that I just can't stand.
Yeah.
But I'm addicted to going on there trying to find out whether the stuff we're doing with our podcast
Yeah.
is valuable. So I really just go on for the podcast, but I always get engaged with these morons.
Yeah.
And the guy's saying to me, now how do you blame the government for the size of the donuts? I wanted to stick the donut in his ear. What do you mean? How do I
Well,
blame
the
economy?
inflation. Yeah,
Fool.
the economy,
economy.
stupid.
So
Yeah.
so the people who are telling me that there's no murderers and rapists jumping the border and that the donuts are only shrinking because they decided to
They're
make them
idiots.
small, they're
Yeah.
idiots. They're
Sean,
freaking idiots.
I've always told my kid, I said, look, you got to learn to recognize futility. Sometimes, no matter how common sense you try to explain something to somebody, they're just too stupid to figure it out themselves.
Well,
you got to let them go.
Hang on, there was an old quote.
Okay, let's get this quote in this time.
Never argue with a fool because they don't know when they lost the argument.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
That's the reality. So when
Yeah.
you're arguing with the fool, you're just wasting your time because they
Yeah.
don't get it. And I watch some of these people that I really like, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
I'm not going to say nothing, and I'm not going to comment on their page because I've already stopped talking to people who were my friends.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't stop talking to them; they stopped talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm not that. I'm not that. I may argue with you, but my God, you've been my friend 45 years. You're not going to talk because I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, and you're going to vote for Kamala, and we kind of clash over the policies. Screw you! I'm not going to talk. But there's this one lady who I've known a very long time, and she puts up the stupidest stuff, and she gets hammered, but she doesn't care because she's so entrenched in her beliefs. I'm okay, Tim. If you want me to believe that Kamala Harris is the best, just give me some reasons why you think that.
Yeah.
Right? Today, for the first time, and I'm going to call them cowards, even though I think they made a bold move. But the Teamsters, for the first time, did not endorse the Democrat. 53% of their members wanted to go with Trump.
Yeah.
So they don't endorse anybody. So I give them some credit for having some courage, but are you really a strong stand-up organization because you have some courage? Or do you need the full force of all of your courage to say, hey, 53% of our members want Trump, 33 want Kamala. We got to go with the majority. Don't they rule? So at the end, they come up with an excuse why they wouldn't vote for either one because, both of them had some labor
Yeah.
issues. But that's a big blow when the biggest union in the world doesn't take a position.
Yeah. I see down in Cohoes, just not to change the topic, but I didn't realize that Burger King's getting a big renovation down there.
Yeah, I seen that. I seen they're doing that. Let me jump over to something else, Timmy, because I don't want to.
Did you put out our notification too?
What?
For for people to follow the podcast, hit the notification and the bell and all that stuff.
No, I'll do that when it's the right time. Don't start telling me how to run the podcast here, Timmy. Okay?
I know you. I'm just trying to help you out because you are 57 now and you're forgetful. Okay.
No, that's after the next slide. All right. Don't try to get me. I'm already in the middle.
I'm staying ahead of you.
Forgetting where the hell I'm at half the time.
Yes.
All right. Let me jump over to this because I thought this was quite an interesting. Let me just figure out how to jump over here. So
there he is.
The city of Albany it's a shithole, Tim.
Yeah.
It really is. It's I wouldn't let my kids go outside in Albany at night. I'd be afraid to let them go outside in the day. The crime is outrageous.
I
violent.
think it's the southern end of Albany mostly, though.
I don't look at a bullet doesn't know how to stay in one end or the other, right? I mean, this is it's absolutely horrible that all these people are getting shot and killed, and this is the capital of New York. This is supposed to be where the great things happen, right? But instead, it's a place that's like the Wild Wild West. And so we had, I think, and let me just try to figure this out for a minute, Timmy, because Eric Adams has been in the city of Albany, I think. Well, he's been there quite a while. I mean, let me just say that because I don't know exactly how long he's been in the
Eric
city.
Adams?
Eric Hawkins, who is the police chief of Albany, and he's people said that he didn't live here. They said he always lived in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second, Timmy, will you? They always said he lives in Michigan, but and there's always been rumors that he's flying back and forth, and he's not dedicated to the city of Albany, and and all this other horse shit. Now, I don't know enough about him, but he's decided that he's leaving Albany, and he's going back to Michigan to do some kind of commissioner of another department. I just caught it 5 minutes ago. But I thought it was worth talking about because Albany is such a shithole.
The crime going on down there.
So ask yourself this question. Is he the worst police chief in the world? Or does he work for the worst mayor in the history of Albany? That's the question I really want to ask. Because certainly he hasn't brought anything to the table to stop the crime in Albany. Nothing. Albany is a shithole, terrible place, and the crime, the guns, everything, right? It's just a shithole. Is it because he's a terrible police chief? If you're from Albany and you're watching the show, is he a terrible police chief, or does he work for the worst mayor? Because nobody has ruined Albany the way Kathy Sheen has ruined Albany. She has been the worst thing that could ever happen. She's a smug. She's a hot shot. She thinks she's everything, and she thinks she's important, and she thinks she's queen of the country. Really, what she is a terrible mayor. She's a left-wing lunatic, and look at Albany. That's all I
Well,
can say. Go down to
well,
Albany and ask
as
yourself if this is a great place.
well, look at as we had Sheriff Apple on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. He has to supply, okay, county police in Albany, whether they like it or not, because the problem is so far out of hand now. Okay, so
Yeah, well, listen, I love Sheriff Apple. I
yeah,
don't think there's anybody that don't love him. He's a great guy, number one. He'll do anything for anybody. When I was in the legislature, he was one of the, he wasn't the, the elected official who thought he was the coolest thing since sliced bread. He just wanted to do his job, get along. He never took sides. He kind of rode the middle as a middle of the road Democrat.
yep,
And did a great job doing what he does. And believe me, I don't think he just wanted to get up one day and say, I got to go jump down in Albany. But he's got an obligation. He's the sheriff of the capital, which is a very powerful position, right?
yep,
And the sheriff of the capital can't sit back and watch as the governor of the state of New York, Cuomo the loser, gets away with the shit that he was doing. And he can't sit back and be quiet when the mayor of Albany, who he's never going to criticize because he probably does like her, but if he's sitting back and just letting her do what she does, there'll be shootings every night in Albany. I think there is anyway. I mean, it sounds like there is anyway. And here's the problem, man. Albany is just down 787 from us, right? Yeah. And shit gets thrown back up this way. When I was running the city, believe me, there was a lot of people who were trying to come from Albany. We would flush them back out of here. We used every tool in the world, dude. Believe me, we used code enforcement. We used we used everything you can think of. If somebody was troublemaker in the city of Cohoes and they were, you couldn't, get rid of them, we'd close the freaking houses down. And then the landlords would get rid of them. I never wanted to put it in the court system because they're so liberal. It takes 7 months for you to evict a kid who's out there, shooting at people. So the city of Cohoes is in the same position as the city of Albany. 4 square miles. You either become overrun and then you're doomed, or you fight real hard to keep it clean because it's only 4 square miles. So if you do it right, you keep these people out. We, on the other hand, are quickly becoming like the city of Albany.
Yeah, we do see quite a bit more shootings and, stabbings and stuff like that. And it's not in one general area. I mean, you can get stabbed in the neck at Stewart's up on Columbia Street, for Christ's sakes, okay? So it's really that whole corridor. You can go down Columbia Street, Remsen Street, Main Street, White Street, all of these streets like this, okay?
I mean, when you're in 4 square miles, again, bullets don't, know what street you're on. And the crime spreads out with tentacles. And the city of Cohoes has done a horrible job. And I'm not saying it because of any other reason other than I love the city and I live in the city, and it's horrible. I had my brother who I was excited. He bought a Airbnb. He moved into the city. I was able to go down, have a drink with him, hang out with him because I don't see them a lot. And it was really cool. He lasted about 7 months because somebody was, walking up and down the street harassing his wife. So some guy says to his wife one day, now you look at, first of all, people are going to say, oh, the vagrants, they don't bother you. Bullshit. Because you know what? Some of them are very mentally ill. And they don't belong walking the streets where young women are all by themselves, because one second you think they're bumming a buck and next minute they're pulling you in the freaking alleyway. And I'm not saying that every one of them do that. I'm just saying if one of them does it, it's too many, because you can't look at people and go, oh, there's the bad guy. There's the bad guy. It's like it's like the border, Timmy.
It's right around Canal Square too, in Cohoes.
Yes.
You see it. It's down there. Once this public library opens up, it's going to be a hub for all of that stuff. We cheap haircuts in Canal Square.
Yeah,
it's working its way over to the senior center. They're selling drugs.
The city has a mayor that don't care.
No, he don't.
He doesn't give a shit. You can't even get in to talk to him. You know how many emails I get just telling me, oh, this guy's a jerk. This guy doesn't. You send messages. You don't get to see him. You try to get a meeting. You can't get in to see him. I used to have an open door policy, right? I used to say to Amanda, when they knock, let them in. Stop and tell me before.
Not this guy.
Yeah, make sure I don't have
It's
a
like you're going
substitute
in the
still.
Oval Office with him.
Yeah, the only
You
time
know?
people I wouldn't let them in is if I was eating because
Yeah.
I get it all over myself. I used to get,
Yeah.
if you want a great sub, you go to substitute, right? And happy
Yeah.
birthday to Tony Pusey today. I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be up there. He's got to be getting
Yeah,
pretty old.
and Gil Ethier had a birthday the other day. I think.
Gil
I
Ethier,
think.
happy birthday.
Yeah, I think he's about 1,000 now, ain't he?
Gil's probably 1,000. I imagine.
Back.
Tony
Yeah.
half, okay? But
Yeah.
anyway, Tony, to watch the show, really,
Yeah.
I love you and happy birthday. And if you do want to get a good sub, you go to Substitute. Best prices, good subs.
Yeah.
And you'll get it all over your face when you're eating it. So
Yeah, I mean, they do make a great sub down there. In fact, that's the only place I get subs from my family, substitute.
Hey, Timmy, let me just jump over because I know you were concerned about this, but if you like the show, please subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. 60,112 people last month. The nice part is there's a organization that we're part of, and they follow our show, and they'll send us every time that we have an up or a uptick or something good's happening. And one of the things they just sent to us, and congratulations to my friend Timmy, is that they just sent to us a 150th upload, Tim. So we uploaded, we've done 150 shows. And
wow.
it's pretty exciting.
I didn't think it was going to end up being like that. We just had an idea, threw a couple things together, and you're in your house, I'm in my house. Okay, we're about 4 miles apart, and we're using all this stuff, okay, in order to be able to do these podcasts. And look at a lot of the information that we put out is from whistleblowers in the city or concerned citizens, or a lot of it comes from employees, okay. And so
I'm
we're
glad
happy to put it on out there.
I'm glad you said that because I want to jump over to the hot news. Submit your tips, right? So since we've started this little segment, holy shit, Tim, I'm getting, I don't know about you, but I think I got 32 or 33 emails during the week. And I probably got, I don't know, 15 or 20 of those Facebook text messages that I don't get to how much, but I'm starting to look at them a little more because people are, sending me stuff. So let me tell you what the topic was that I picked from three of the so many, because there's all kinds of different stuff. And every one of you who send one, I promise you, we'll talk about what you're sending because you mean a lot to us. But the three that I want to talk about just kind of fit into some of the segments that we had. So let me take a drink because I'm going to talk a lot.
Yeah.
So, Timmy, you have been very vocal about this solar panel stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about solar panels other than bird shit all over it. And it just doesn't sound like a great idea to be put over the drink.
And I asked that question, how are you going to keep them clean? They say, well, we're going to rely on nature. What do you mean nature? Rain?
So they got a grant. Let me just tell you, to all you people who have heard this 1,000 times, I apologize. I'll go fast. So the city got a grant, I don't know, $6 million or something to put solar panels on our drinking water. First time in the history of the world that they put solar panels on people's drinking water. We have no idea what it will do, but can it screw up the drinking water any more than Cohoes? My brother Johnny wrote a whole song about Waterford water running through his veins, but he lived in Cohoes most of his life. So I think it was the Cohoes water that screwed him up. But to make a long story short, you go to a council meeting and you're listening to the city auditor that we pay money to do audit, right?
Yes.
And he comes out and says to the city, who are dumbfounded beyond belief after they hear about this, right?
Yeah.
That there's about a $600,000 payments. I should say payments, right?
They underestimated.
They underestimated $600,000.
Yeah.
Of this $6 million. And who's on the hook? COHOES under King Keeler, who doesn't even know that he's $600,000 over budget for his stupid solar panel.
And it even gets worse, Sean. Okay, they come back months later, okay, because they're doing work on the inside, and another contractor comes back and says, "Well, unforeseen. I need another 50 grand. Okay.
So you're gonna so now.
So they had to get little trucks to load them on up with garbage or whatever, get them out of the reservoir, and then put them on bigger trucks
Hey, you
because
gotta
the
give
big
us
trucks
50
wouldn't fit on the track going around the inside of the reservoir.
You got to give us $50,000 more to cut the grass. I mean, come on.
And the council sits there and says, "Sure, okay." Don't
Yes.
say no. Whoa, 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 whoa! You gave us a bid. You take care of it.
Jeez, it is just it is.
And
it's
then we got the leak. Somebody
We
said
got-
to me, "Well, that leak has been there for years." No, it hasn't. I've been going in that area for years. Okay, and that leak is new. And furthermore, if it was there for years or however, why hasn't it been fixed yet?
Well, my good friend Fran Dudwire just puts out a G's
Yeah.
because she used to be a dispatcher. I was up in the Hill Firehouse. I've been out.
Yeah.
We've been by that filtration plant. I was by there for I don't know 15 years. I think
Mm-hmm.
I worked up on the Hill section with Donnie Normandin and a few
Yeah.
other great firefighters. But I walked by that place 1,000 times. You know what? Maybe that little shack
Yeah,
had some water always getting in it, and they drained that out. But
yeah,
the
that's
leak that
one
they-
thing.
Yeah, the leak that they sprung up there has to do with some of the digging they're doing. There's no doubt in my mind. But let me jump into the hot news because
Yes.
I don't know if it's real and I don't know if it's fake. And usually until I can prove something, I
We'll
won't
know in
have
a week, though, won't we?
Right. That's the only reason I'm going to bring it up because I know that by Friday we will know.
Yeah,
Unless they hide it now because we're coming out talking about it.
yeah,
But I know that 3 people have said to me that the city of Cohoes will be removing $100,000 out of the police budget and the firefighter budget
yeah.
and moving it into a line item to pay towards their solar project.
Right.
So
So the fire department and police department are unofficial sponsors.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
solar
Well, congratulations to the firefighters and the police for being the sponsors of this solar panel. But we just this moron, this imbecile,
It's
this
crazy.
this
Yep.
guy who ran the state police.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say other than I tell you all the time. Any guy that walks with his freaking head looking down at his feet
Yeah,
is a guy that's lost somewhere. And this
Yep.
guy ran the state police, yet he's got Cohoes so broke. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
remember every show, I should say it every show so you don't say I made it
Yeah.
up 3 years from now. Write it down, Fran Dudwire. Write it down, Robert. Write it down, everybody who's watching the show, that Sean Morris said that within 3 years, this city is going to be broke. And
Yeah.
they'll be cutting
And-
services because he has mismanaged more money than anybody in the history of the city. He's taken money from police and fire. He just signed a deal to pay an ambulance company that 7 months ago would have
Yep.
done it for
for
free.
free. Yep,
He's now paying them $1 million a year.
yep.
$1 million
Yeah,
a year
90,000 a month. He's got to co-op
to
that.
have an ambulance in our city that
Right.
would have done it for free.
For
but when
free.
you're a moron, you can't figure that stuff out. Somehow,
Yeah.
when you're sitting in your office and you're having a meeting with an ambulance company, Ambulance,
Yeah,
and you walk out of that meeting and you say, great, they said they were going to do it for free. And
Yeah.
they come out and say, what are you talking about? We told you it was $1 million. And
Yeah,
he goes
yeah.
on the news and goes, oh, I thought they said it was going to be free.
right,
That's
right.
a scary problem. And you wonder why there's crime in our city. You wonder why the commissioner of DPW told the city councilman they can't cut the grass because they don't have no way of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. We showed you a picture of the park last week that was only built 4 or 5 months ago that has grass 8 foot high, garbage all over the sidewalks. I could be like a parrot and just keep going over the same stuff over and over. You are the people that live in this city. Take a walk. Where's Randy Knifka? He walks around. He said to me, he said, Sean, I'm afraid to walk around the city. I said, I'm not mad at you no more, Randy. You can walk around the city.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump out and kick the shit out of you. But he said, I won't even walk at night. He said, and listen, me and Randy had our differences, right? But he's a very particular guy when it comes to weeds and dirt. He was one of the guys that I agreed with all the time about weeds all over and garbage. And he said, I can't believe how bad the city is. And I said, well, if you weren't a little pissant, you wouldn't have helped Keeler win and come after me.
Yeah.
But
It's
at the
campaign
end,
manager. Yeah.
and congratulations, because you're as much to blame for the shit going on in the city as he is. But
Actually, he is. You know, he was the tip of the spear for Keeler. He didn't really know this guy. Okay, other than he did say one thing: he's the cheapest no good shit he ever ran into.
Cheap with our money. I mean, think about it. He gave himself a $20,000 raise, gave his daughter $20,000 raise, gave his brother.
And you know what? Remember, Sean, too, he went on TV 13 and said, look at, with this ambulance and all the other shit that he unforeseen, that Cohoes could see a 12 to 15% tax increase.
It's coming.
What I would say to the Common Council, look at, if we're looking at a tax increase because of his incompetence, go back in there and take that damn money, that raise, away from him. You could do that. Just vote it down and say, hey, you're not getting it.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
The whole budget process is a little more difficult than you think. It's not as simple as one, because the Board of Managers, technically, I don't even think these people do it right. The Board of Managers passes a budget. And once it's passed, technically, the council can't go 5,000 below or 5,000 above one of the line items, because then it has to get pre-approved by the Board of Managers. Okay? So technically, if I took and gave myself a $20,000 raise, the council, in my belief, at least the lawyers that I had, the council would not be able to just say, we're going to cut it down by 15,000, because then they'd have to get approval from the Board of Managers.
Yeah, which is what?
Controlled by the mayor.
Right, yeah. Unelected bureaucrats that serve at the pleasure of the mayor, who are also appointed by the mayor.
I don't have a problem with it. I know you have a problem with it.
I do.
A government has to be able to function on a daily basis. It can't function. It doesn't function on a monthly basis. So the whole purpose is to have a procurement policy that allows certain amount of money to be spent by certain people before it hits the threshold that needs the council's approval. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, if you got a flat tire on a fire truck and it was $5,000, you couldn't buy a new tire until you got
I'm not saying that the Common Council needs to micromanage either. Okay. What I'm saying is some common sense stuff. Okay. I like to have the people I vote for make the big decisions, not
when you're talking 25,000 is not that big of a decision.
But like look at the solar panel shit. Okay, look at the redistricting that we talked about. Okay?
Redistricting is a political process. The solar panels
that never happened in Cohoes.
Was approved. It was approved by this council.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to pick these people apart. I'm just going to share. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I am a big Adam Biggs fan as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life.
He is a nice guy.
And I think that if you needed something from him personally, he'd take his shirt off and give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold that he can be a leader in government, because you have to have some balls, and you have to be able to have confrontation, and you have to be able to stick up for your own self, and you have to be able to say, if you throw a punch at me, I'm throwing back at you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean fist fight. I'm talking about using your political tools and your powers within the government to make people understand that you're part of the process, not just a dodo bird, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him right now, and I haven't seen him have that kind of vigor in him. Now, maybe he does, and maybe he has a different process, which means he does it in the background. He doesn't do it out in the front. I don't know. I think you got to do it out in the front if you want people to think that you're doing it, right? But hey, people love him because he beat the Democrat.
Yeah.
And so he's here, but I just hope that he becomes a little more emboldened about some of the things going on. Sean Higgins, like Sean, I appointed him to the Housing Authority, correction officer, great kid. When I see him, I want to give him a hug. I want to give him 5. I tell him I love him. He's a great kid. He is on the cusp, I think, of saying, I've had enough. And I'm not so sure he's afraid not to say the stuff. He seems like the guy. He's big enough to say it, okay? Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you.
He did get rid of ambulance. meaning
Yeah,
he worked his ass
and
off
you know what?
I don't know that Adam would have stood up the same way that Sean Higgins did to
I don't.
that problem.
I,
Okay.
I, I don't think he would have. You know
No,
what? I don't want to say I don't think he would have.
I, I,
I don't
I
know
just don't
if
know.
he's really got to show me um, a little more fire in his belly. And Sean Higgins, he did ask Steve Hennessy to get the grass and stuff cut,
Yeah.
and was basically told, "Sorry, we
Sorry,
don't
I
have the
ain't doing
manpower.
it. Yeah,
We
we
can't do
don't
it."
have it. Yeah.
If you
Nothing
don't
we
have the
can do.
manpower to
He
cut the
got the
grass,
nothing we can do excuse.
yeah, and
That's what he
that
got.
himself. But I want Sean to come on the show and say, "Hey, I asked this guy to cut the grass. He tells me he can't do it. That's
Yeah.
a disgrace."
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Yeah,
hear
that's
him
how he
say
has
that
to.
publicly. Because if he
He
doesn't
has to
say
be that
it
way, like
publicly,
us.
right? Because if you don't say it publicly, you didn't say it at all,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Okay. So
And
tell
that's
me,
what we do.
let's jump into the last thing before we get out of here, right? So
Yep.
we know that Mohawk Paper is down to almost one machine. I'm trying to get the final
Yeah.
information from
I
some of
looked at the numbers today. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I reached out to a couple people, but it was later in the, it was probably 10 minutes before
Yeah.
we started, because I wanted to see if they moved all of their machines to Waterford, because
Yeah.
I know that they're moving everything to Waterford, right?
Mhm.
But when the new company purchased Mohawk had to pay, I believe, $250,000 in water and sewer fees to the city, and I'm assuming that was the year, right? A
Yeah.
year's worth of water
Yes.
and sewer. So I asked you, I said, Tim, what do you think they're paying now? And you went and found the numbers, right?
Yeah, I did.
So a company that paid $250,000 a year in water and sewer, how much did they pay this year?
They're going to pay less than $6,000.
That's what I think I paid.
So
'Cause I have a freaking
right.
sprinkler.
So where is Billy Keeler going to make up that kind of money for the water fund,
Well,
water
that's
sewer fund?
exactly.
That's nearly $250,000, Sean.
So you lose Mohawk Paper. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with Norlight.
Don't know anything new.
So certainly his economic development guru, fat ass Napier,
Yeah.
who hasn't done anything.
Well, he's
except-
sold the parking lot this year.
he sold the parking lot,
you know.
and he built shit shacks. And
Yeah.
that $25,000, if we're not mistaken, they were throwing the wood into the back of the truck, right?
Yeah, they were.
Getting rid of it.
They're,
Hey, Bobby, how you doing, buddy?
they're
Bobby
very
Keeler.
slowly getting rid of Napier's shit shacks that he spent $25,000 on a failed program.
Sean,
What's
what
he
was
going to
on
do
the
this
news?
Christmas?
Sean, what was on the news? Was it the Mohawk Paper? Or that the fact? Oh yeah, okay. It says have an increase in taxes, 28 million budget, but there will be an increase in water and sewer. No shit. And let me just tell you something. Water and sewer, I don't know. Some people are going to pay a lot more than others, right? So
Yeah.
I have a sprinkler system that waters my grass, right? I got
Yeah.
52 kids and grandkids taking showers. I think my water bill was just shy of $400 this quarter.
So we might see an increase in the water and sewer. Is that because we dumped 15 million gallons into the sewer system just a couple of weeks ago?
It's because he's pushed businesses out of the city.
Yeah.
He's got no economic development. He's bringing
Yeah.
in no private investment.
Yeah.
There's water going down. This ain't water that's coming out of raw water. This is treated water. So
Yes.
if you lose 150,000 gallons a day, you got to
Yeah.
pay for the chemicals.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing because you know what? When they raise taxes on water and sewer,
Yep.
it's a smaller pool of people paying for the larger freight. Here's the problem. In the water and sewer fund, they do have employees, right?
Yeah.
They take people who work in the water department.
But they don't have a licensed supervisor there right now. They're
no,
required
because
to.
they suspended him for
Yeah.
telling Steve Hennessy. I think he said something like, "Come on, give me a break, throw me out of your meeting." And
Yeah.
Steve got scared.
Yeah.
All this, he got scared, and then he suspends the guy who's never been in trouble in his life. And then when the guy wins to come back, they throw him patching freaking holes in the they're just a bunch of punks.
Yeah.
They're skinless, ballless punks. They wouldn't do this stuff to your face.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I guarantee you, because these are you're working with men,
Yeah.
grown-up men. Okay, if you're out to the bar and you treat them the way you treated them
Yeah.
at work, they put their foot in your ass.
Yep.
Okay? But
Yeah.
that's how they treat you here because they feel like they're big tough guys. But so far, the big tough guy can't cut the grass. Okay? Water treatment up there is being treated with people that couldn't pass my understanding, again, from the Submit the News, the 2 people that got licensed couldn't pass and failed the test, so they got permission to give them an open book test.
Oh
Okay?
boy.
So now you got 2 guys that probably Googled the answers, couldn't remember yesterday what the hell the answer is, running your water plant. The 2 guys that have been in charge forever are, one's down DP, well, they're both down to the garage because this is their punishment. Why Steve Hennessy is making $80,000 because he did work on Keeler's house. Now, hey, listen, I'm not telling you this is factual. I'm just telling you the story that I was told by Steve.
Yeah.
That he did work on his house and Keeler was giving him a hard time about paying for it. And next thing you know, he's the DPW commissioner. I don't know if anything was real or I don't know if anything came out of that. I don't know if that's just a rumor. I believe that Steve did tell me a small part of that. But, you know, this is the kind of shit that goes on in the city calls. And that's why everybody who's running the city are in positions that they've never done. Steve Napier's never done economic development in his life.
And there's been none since he's been in office. We paid him so far over $300,000.
He believes economic development is going to the pizza parlor and having a slice.
And selling parking lots.
Yeah, and selling parking lots because they don't want to plow them because Sean talked about please plow the lot so that we can park our cars like we did for 4 years. So the bottom line is the city of Cohoes is a shithole. Albany is a shithole. Democrats are ruining all of our cities with their liberal policies. I'm a Democrat. I'll keep fighting for middle of the road Democrats because I still believe in their policies. I still believe in some of their principles, but I'm starting to realize I'm more conservative now than I am, Democrat, because I'm certainly not one of these left-wing Democrats. But I'm a Democrat in the heart. I want to see good Democrats. But right now, Kathy Sheehan, she's ruined Albany. Keeler's ruined Cohoes. They're all part of the left liberal. They won't have you can't have a Memorial Day parade, but you'll march with Black Lives Matter because somehow that makes you special.
Yeah, and you don't honor our vets on Memorial Day and weekend and stuff.
You don't have a 9/11 memorial.
You don't lower the flag for Memorial Day.
You don't have a 9/11 memorial. 23 years.
Yeah.
Miller was a cop. You think he could have gathered the police, the firefighters, and said, stand in front of City Hall. Let's have a prayer. Let's have the pastor say a prayer. Let's say a few words in honor of all those people, firemen, cops, everybody who risked their lives and died helping save the people in them buildings.
Well, as you remember, it wasn't too long ago. We had to shame him into having a recognition for 100 years for the Girl Scouts because he wouldn't do it. I mean, the guy has no idea that as a mayor, you also have a ceremonial role, okay, because you're supposed to represent the city in the greatest of ways. This guy doesn't do it. He's just, all he cares about is getting in there, getting his paycheck, and going home and chopping wood for the winter.
Go back up to McKinney Square. We showed the flag that is faded out.
They're still faded out.
This is the flag for the entrance of one of the most beautiful veterans parks anywhere in the country. Right here in the city of Cohoes. We built it.
Yeah,
I was part of helping build it. I wanted to see
flag is pretty much
one of the best.
Yeah,
and if it wasn't for Dave Keene, Dave Keene. Dave Keene's a retired fireman. Dave Keene, I went to Dave Keene and said, Dave, I went to him, Al Albin, Paul Hero. They all did it for a while, but Dave was right across the street. So Dave said, I'll take care of it because it's right across the street. Gives me a little exercise. But the whole front, you know why it's beautiful? Because Dave Keene, a retired firefighter, a veteran, goes over there and pushes the freaking mower every week. And the city don't even make sure the flags that are in the gateway of that park are recognizable. So here's what I'm going to say. If you're watching the show, let's show the community we care. Let's all throw in $10 and buy the flag ourselves. We'll send the money to the city, ask them to buy the McKinney flag. And if I don't raise enough money, I'll buy the flag myself. I just want to see more people engage because it sends a better message that it wasn't Sean Moore's buying the flag just because, right? He's trying to be, funny. But everybody who watched the show wants to throw in $10 to buy the $150 flag. So when you go to that park and it says McKinney Square, you can see and honor the guy who helped build it. That's all I got to say about that tonight, Timmy. Big Ted, it was good to see you. Thank you for coming up and bringing me the Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit carving that you made. Bobby, it's good to see you. Sharon, good to see you. Everybody who jumped on. Robert, good to see you. Stevie, Sherry, everybody else who joined the show. We'll be back next week. Fired up again. If you got anything for hot news, submit the tip. Sean Moore's podcast at Gmail. You can hit Timmy up on his Facebook Messenger. You can hit me up on the Facebook Messenger. And until next
we'll let you know. Yeah, and we'll let everybody know what we can confirm. Okay, on that budget transfer money. In the meantime, Sean,
it's good to see you.
My quote.
I can't remember.
My quote here of the week was from General Custer at the Little Bighorn when he said, "Where the fuck did all those Indians come from?" Good night.
Good night, Timmy. Hey, Timmy.
What?
How Miss Dingley didn't hear that?
Her computer's not working. I got away with it. Good night.
Good night.